Hello everybody, weebrabbit here, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload Podcast, episode 65, aka the last episode of this old podcast format, aka the very late roundup of anime from winter 2024, and even a couple from fall 2023. Yeah, that's right. That's how long it took for this to come out, that there's just some anime that just were pending in limbo that I never covered. So yeah, I'm going to cover all of these anime that I said I would get to one day. Before that, though, I just want to say I am solo for this episode. Legend of Jonathan was not available, which is fine because, he probably only would have had like one anime to talk about. I'm the one who watched all of these, except for, I know he watched some episodes here and there. So either way, it would have just been me talking the whole time anyway, so it's fine. Kid doesn't have to be here. He probably has better things to do. Yeah, and I honestly wasn't even going to do this. I know it took so long for this to come out, just because of all sorts of reasons with personal life stuff, and travel, and work, and being busy with the channel, and I don't know, just all sorts of things, right? But I just said no. I had said I was going to do this roundup, so it wouldn't feel right to not do it. So here we go. I'm going to talk about a bunch of anime that was kind of pending. Then after this, the old podcast format can be put to rest. The next time you see a podcast episode on the channel, it'll be a new format, new way of doing things. And there might even be some new art. I know, a little sneak peek, but Legend Jonathan was working on doing some little, some artwork for, his avatar and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. With that being said, yes, I have 11 different anime series to talk about. 2 of them are actually anime from fall 2023 that I didn't cover way back when because they were those types of anime that, a normal anime season runs for, 12 or 13 episodes, right? And these were more than that. They were 24 and 28 episodes, respectively. And so they kind of bled into the next anime season. And so I was going to wait until, the winter 2024 anime season ended to cover them. So I'm going to cover them here. So, therefore, first anime that I want to talk about, Undead Unluck. Now, for anyone who doesn't remember, Undead Unluck is about this girl named Fuko Izumo. And Fuko Izumo, when we start the series, she is reading the last issue of her favorite romance manga. And now that she finishes it and she saw the conclusion of it, she says that her life is complete and that she can finally end herself. Because we see that she's actually standing on some bridge and she's gonna, jump off. Because why? Well, she explains, she seems to have this weird curse, so to speak, where she just has extreme unluck. And anyone that she touches, bad things befall them. That's how she lost her parents. That's how she unfortunately affected, some people around her until she decided to isolate herself. So she's gonna end herself. She's standing on the bridge. And that's when she runs into this weird man that she ends up calling Andy, aka Undead, right? The undead part of the title. He's undead, she's unluck. And it's this weird guy with white hair that apparently he seems to be immortal. And no matter what happens to him, he just, survives and he's able to heal himself. And he has all sorts of crazy powers based on this ability. And, when she tells him about her unluck and he sees it for himself, he tells her that he has been alive for a long ass time and he wants to die but he can't because of his undead ability. And so he kind of says that, hey, maybe they can try to kind of work something out where she'll be able to pass on her unluck to him and finally put him out of his misery. However, before that can happen, it ends up that there is this secret organization that hunts people like them down, people with these strange abilities, strange powers, and, they start getting hunted by this organization. So how can these two individuals, survive against this organization that's hunting them down? Sure, they can try to, kill off the members that come after them, but they know that, they'll just keep coming and coming and coming, and there's going to be people with maybe, powers stronger than the people they're currently facing, and it would be like a crazy task. So they decide that if they can kill a couple of the members, they can join the secret organization, and obviously, as members of the secret organization, they won't be hunted, and then they can try to, work on that plan of finding a way to put Andy out of his misery using Fuko's unluck power. So, that's kind of the basic premise. I'm not going to get too into it and where it goes, but I will say that this was a really interesting series. I thought the powers were really cool. Seeing all these different people in the organization, the people are fighting, and there is this like rival faction that also has their plans of what they're trying to do. The powers are really interesting, and how they work was really cool. The characters really interesting. They're kind of from all over the globe and stuff, and they all have like their own powers and backstories and all this stuff, which I thought was really cool. The main characters, I think they're pretty interesting. The world building and kind of how you see these characters and their place in it and their powers and all that. That was really interesting. And I don't know, I thought the direction that the story goes is really interesting as well. So characters were cool, fights were cool, powers were really good. Their backstories of the people was interesting. Seeing where the story goes and the world building. I thought everything was really well done. So I really enjoyed the series. And I would just say that I really recommend it to people. The first couple episodes, maybe the first 2 or 3, are kind of weird. Obviously, because of how Fuko's power is all about how if she touches somebody and like the longer she makes contact with them, the stronger the unluck will be. And so in the beginning, Andy is kind of a bit of a weirdo with how he's almost kind of harassing Fuko and being like, touch me or let me touch you and see if it kills me. And like, some of the stuff is kind of awkward, right? I will say, but it doesn't last for too long, I would say. So, I would say that's something that kind of, might turn some people off. But trust me, if you continue on with it, I think you'll like it. If you get past that weirdness, I think you'll enjoy it. And I think it was a pretty enjoyable series. It is 24 episodes, so it is kind of long, compared to some that are only like 12, 13 episodes. It's a bit on the longer side. But 24 episodes, you can watch it over on, strangely enough, Disney Plus or Hulu, right? So it's kind of one of those weird ones that's not really Crunchyroll or High Dive. So Disney Plus or Hulu, depending on your area. And it's 24 episodes. And if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a, 7, maybe 7.5. Over on my anime list, that's like a 7.79. So I don't think I'm too far off from the rating. But I don't know. I think that's about the rating I would give it. I think it's enjoyable. I do recommend it. And I would say check it out, It gets a thumbs up from me. Yeah. All right. After that, the other one that is also a fall 2023 entry that I thought was really well done. As soon as I talk about it, hopefully some people who are listening to this will remember. Frieren what's it called? Frieren Beyond Journey's End. That's right. Frieren Beyond Journey's End. For anyone who doesn't remember, needs a refresher, this is the one that's really interesting because it's set in a fantasy world, but unlike all of these series where anytime you see a fantasy world, it's always some sort of an isekai, it's always video game based, right? How you level up, like an RPG. This one is awesome for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's a fantasy story. There's a good old-fashioned fantasy story with none of the isekai stuff. So that's really cool. And number 2, this one's really interesting because it takes place decades after the little main party defeated the Demon King. This is after, decades later, where their main character, Frieren, she's this elf, right? She's this elf mage. And she was part of the hero's party, where the hero was 𝐜𝐤𝐬, the hero. There was the priest, Hater, and there was the dwarf warrior, 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐬. Hopefully I'm saying their names right? And together, the four of them went on this epic, life-changing journey, defeated the Demon King. But then, when everything was said and done, they all went their separate ways, right? And for Frieren, because she's an elf and she lives like so long, 50 years pass in the blink of an eye for her, right? Because she lives so long. And I don't know, when she goes back to the capital, I guess, like this town, right? Everyone's older now, and 𝐜𝐤𝐤𝐿, he's old, and she spends like some time with the whole party, and they go and they see oh my god, was like some fireworks or something, I forget. It's been a while since I watched this. The point is, she reunites with everybody one last time. Everyone's older, and everyone has like a great time, and they're kind of reminiscing a little bit about, we had such a great journey, whatever. Talk about kind of what they've been up to. And not long after, 𝐜𝐤𝐿 the hero dies. And as they're attending the funeral, Frieren realizes that she never really knew much about 𝐜𝐤𝐿, right? Like, yes, she spent some time with him, during this journey and stuff. But when you think about it, she spent some time with him. But again, because of her long lifespan, the decade-long journey that she went on with everybody wasn't that long. And she realizes she really didn't know that much about him as she thought. And she kind of starts breaking down because she feels like, wow, I can't believe I didn't connect more. And now 𝐜𝐤𝐿's gone. And so basically this whole story kicks off from there. And it's just like this really well done story of this elf mage kind of retracing her steps of this journey she went on with this party, right? And kind of thinking about these precious memories that she made that at the time she didn't even really realize how precious they would be to her. And, I would say it's not too much of a spoiler, but the priest, he actually also, passes not too long into the series, just a couple episodes in. And he kind of tricks Frieren into taking this girl named Fern under her wing and to teach her magic and make her like a great mage like herself, like Frieren. And basically this whole story is kind of about her taking Fern on this journey, trying to, raise her up to be this great mage. And she has this goal that she wants to go to this place where supposedly, like, if you get there, you're able to see the souls of the dead. Like, it's kind of like a place where life and death is like very loose, right? And she wants to basically interact with 𝐜𝐤𝐿 again. And it's so crazy because it's not like a story that takes place over like weeks or months or even like a year. Like, we see Fern grow up along the way. And so it's just this like lifelong like journey of Frieren taking Fern on this journey, raising her up as a mage, trying to get to that place so she can see 𝐜𝐤𝐿's soul again. And like I said, along the way, remembering the journey that she went on long ago. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. It's one of those things you really have to watch, but trust me when I say it's really well done. It has a bit of everything. It has, funny moments. That's why if you've seen, there's all these like memes online because there's like all this like funny stuff to the series. There's all this sad stuff. There's some cool fight scenes. Like, it has a bit of everything, right? And like the world building's really interesting. The characters are really interesting. I think they're really fleshed out. Really love them. Frieren is a pretty good protagonist, and I think she's really complex, right? And seeing how she grows and realizes that she kind of fumbled 𝐜𝐤𝐿 the hero, and she regrets it, and oh man, it's just so good. Trust me. So I definitely recommend it. I think it's one of those, oh man, you just have to watch it. It's so good. It's 28 episodes, so it's quite a bit of a long one, right? And it's not even like the whole story. This is based on a manga that's still ongoing, so we'll have to see if it, gets some more adapted in the future. But those 28 episodes, trust me, they're really well done. It's a really great series. I think people will enjoy it. And yeah, I think right now over on my anime list, I'm sorry about that. It actually has a 9.36, and I think, if I am looking at this correctly, it is one of the top ranked anime on the site. Like, in fact, I think if I'm looking at this correctly, it says that it is ranked number 1, which is insane. Because, like, for the longest time, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood has been number 1 on the site. And, like, no, this surpassed it. So I would think that that kind of tells you something about this series. You know what I mean? So trust me, very good series. I loved it. Really enjoyed it. I think it's one of those things that everybody should watch. I think that, you know, it's not going to have like a lot of like, you know, flashy over the top stuff. But if you can get past that, if you're someone who enjoys series or maybe a little more slow paced, have like a big overarching story, a lot of build up, that sort of thing, I think you will enjoy it. So I definitely give it like a 9.5, maybe even a 10 out of 10. I think it's that good. And yeah, it's available on Crunchyroll. I believe in some areas you might even be able to see it on Netflix, right? And I definitely recommend it. It's like a top favorite. It's really good. And I think that everybody should check this out. So again, Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, might also be known as Frieren at the Funeral. I've seen it written that way in some places. Go check it out. Cannot recommend it enough. All right, there you go, guys. So those are the fall 2023 anime that I had not talked about in a while, that they were kind of in limbo because, you know, they just kind of came out at a weird time, right? Where they came out in the middle of one season, overlapped into another one, but I'm glad to have covered those. Next up, diving into the winter 2024 anime. You know, a lot of people had said winter 2024 is a anime season full of a lot of really horny series, and I agree. I watched these two, which are like super over the top, and I had heard there's a few more. I just never really, you know, watched them, but from what I've heard, there's definitely, you know, something in the water during the season. The first one that I did watch, I think it's pretty infamous at this point. I'd be surprised if you haven't heard about it. Gushing Over Magical Girls. Yeah, maybe the title, you're like, oh, I think I've heard about this one. Basically, basic premise, it's a world where there's magical girls, right? And there is a fight between, you know, good magical girls and, you know, evil villains and, you know, that sort of thing, right? Good versus evil. And there's a team of 3 magical girls that they're called 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿. And there's this girl that, you know, they protect the town of this girl that her name is Utena Hiragi. And she is a huge fan of magical girls. She loves them. And I don't know, she's just like obsessed with them, huge fangirl, etc. And one day there's this mysterious little like mascot character, right? You know, like it happens in a lot of magical girl series, right? Like if you look at Madoka Magica, there's QB. If you look at Sailor Moon, there's, you know, Luna. There's always some sort of a creature, right? That's like, oh, I'm gonna help you out and bring out your power, right? That's the idea. So one day, there's this like little mascot character that appears to Utena, and it says it's gonna give her, you know, the opportunity of a lifetime. She's gonna get to transform into a magical girl. And she's all excited because she's such a fangirl. She wants to be one of them and, you know, fight alongside them, meet them, all this good stuff. But it's not exactly what she expects. Because, yes, she can transform into a magical girl, but she's actually part of the villains team. That's what she didn't know. So she's able to transform into like an evil magical girl, and she gets recruited into the evil organization that's going to fight the magical girls that she, you know, admires so much. And not only that, but her powers are like really like bondage based. And so it's all about inflicting pain, you know, on the magical girls. And slowly she kind of starts giving into her desires, and she starts to like enjoy putting the girls in this situation. And she enjoys her role as a villain. And she kind of starts, you know, like her admiration turns into this like sadistic, like messing with them, right? It becomes like this obsession. And yeah, like I said, there's not really much to say. it's a Magical Girl series, your basic fare, like I said, of good team versus bad team, with the twist of the main character being part of the villain's team. And it just has all sorts of, bondage and kink stuff. So yeah, it's really out there, super ecchi, and I don't really know what else to say. It's just one of those things that, exactly what I've discussed, it's very out there with what it is. And so some people are gonna, enjoy it, I guess. They're gonna think it's worth a watch, and they'll like it because it's exactly what it says it is. And other people are gonna, of course, recoil and be like, ew, get that away from me, right? So what else is there more to say? That's the whole series. It's gonna be very mixed. Some people are just gonna be like, oh, I think it's funny, or I think it's tantalizing, whatever. I enjoy it. I enjoy the fan service. And some people are gonna hate it, right? Yeah, I'm on the side where, I don't know, man. I watched so much weird stuff at this point that I'm not gonna say I enjoyed it necessarily, though I did think it was very interesting. And it's just one of those things where I just kind of look at it and just kind of laugh from afar of wow, you guys really went for it, So I'm not even gonna give it a rating. It's just, it is what it is, right? So yeah, that one is over on HIDIVE. And that one was 13 episodes. And like I said, what I described is exactly what it is. Over on my anime list, it has a 7.68 rating, which is surprisingly very high, because I feel like a lot of stuff that's like this is usually a 6 or lower, right? But I don't know. Like I said, it was interesting, I guess. It does say something about the whole discovering yourself, right? Not just the main villain girl, but the other girls as well. They learn some things about themselves. So I don't know. There you have it. So that is Gushing Over Magical Girls. All right. After that, this one is called Chained Soldier, aka Slave of the Magic Capital's Elite Troops. And it's another one that is just super on the nose. It's this weird society where there's an alternate dimension where I don't know, all of these girls are warriors, right? They basically look like they're an army, and all of the warriors are female, right? So it's an all-female demon defense force is what they're called. And it's kind of this weird other dimension that sometimes people can accidentally stumble across it, right? It's really weird, honestly. I didn't really understand the world building for this one. Point is, though, our main character, his name is 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿, and he's someone who's kind of lost in life, doesn't really know what he's going to do with his future, blah, blah, blah. We learned that I think his, I forget if it's older or younger sister, she went missing, and so, I don't know, he's just kind of, very, lost in life. And one of these days, he accidentally stumbles through this portal, ends up in that other dimension, and it looks like he's going to die at the hands of the demons. However, at the last moment, he's saved by this chief of, a certain squad within the Demon Defense Force. It's the 7th unit. Her name is 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿. And basically, she kind of says that the way it works is that, if she, makes, this weird, I can almost call it contract with 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿, and she, chains them up, she can use them as a weapon, basically. She can use them as this monster she can control. And so she does. And they basically form this weird partnership where she can use him as her slave and bring out the abilities, blah, blah, blah. And in exchange, though, she has to give him a reward. And of course, the reward is has to be based on his desires. So of course, they make it something that's kind of pervy, explicit in nature. In the first encounter, she gives him this hardcore kiss. And basically that's kind of the premise, that she's going to use him. And so he moves in with the 7th unit. It's not just her. And he meets all the different girls on the squad. And all these different girls, they can, team up with him and do all this stuff as long as they reward him. And that's kind of the premise of the anime. And like I said, it's just a very basic battle slash harem slash ecchi anime where this guy gets used by the ladies and he gets put in all these sorts of situations. And I don't know, what else is there really to say? Again, it's just very on the nose. So it's an action, fantasy, ecchi, harem anime. Very suggestive. I don't know. It was fine, I guess. Like I said, it was just really over the top. World building was kind of weird. Characters I felt were pretty basic. So there's not really much else to say. This one went for 12 episodes. You can watch it over on High Dive. I feel like High Dive got all the horny ones this season. And yeah, over on my anime list, it has a 6.83 rating, which I was saying that I'm surprised Gushing Over Magical Girls had like a 7 point something, because I feel like usually stuff of this nature usually has like under a 7, right? So this one, as you can see, was rated lower. And there you go. Again, it's something that some people are going to be interested in it. Some people are going to enjoy it. Me, again, I'm just watching it. I'm just kind of laughing at how absurd everything is, how over the top, how on the nose. But it was fine, I guess. Though I will admit, at least the other one was at least more interesting, what it had going on in this one. But there you have it. Chain Soldier. Yeah, there you go. It is what it is. What is on the tin is what the story's about. So you get what you expect, right? There you go. Alrighty, and moving on. This is another one that not really much to say about it. I talked about it before, and I was just baffled by how weird it was. And that's basically the way it is all the way through. I'm, of course, talking about the other world doesn't stand a chance against the power of instant death. Or my instant death ability is so overpowered, no one in the other world stands a chance against me. This is the one where there's these kids, they're on a school trip. As they're driving on the bus, it goes into another world because they were summoned by this like sage thing, right? Called Scion, that says, yo, there's going to be a death. Well, first it's like everyone has a power now. You all have a special ability. A special ability. We're trying to recruit more people to like our pantheon, I guess you can say. So the way to figure it out is that there's going to be like this almost like death game sort of thing, right? No, what was it? Crap. I'm actually forgetting. No, this one wasn't a death game. It was, you guys have like these tasks you have to do, right? I think it was something like that, where there's like a task you guys have to do, RPG style. Everyone has a gift. Look at your little, HUD, and whoever, does what they're supposed to do, you'll be able to, like, we'll recruit you or whatever. And, there's a dragon that's about to attack. Everyone who has a gift instantly turns on all the people that don't have a gift. And they basically go, yo, you guys will be the bait. Distract the dragon. We're out. And the main character, his name is 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐿 Takato, I think is how you say his name, 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐿 Takato. And there's this girl, her name is Tomochika Denura, and it looks like they don't have any abilities at first, and it looks like they're gonna die. But that's when we find out that no, 𝐥𝐤𝐤 is actually super overpowered, and his ability is that he literally just tells someone to die, and they like kill over and die. And so he saves Tomochika from the dragon, as well as these guys that were like literally gonna like assault her, like SA, right? Like they're just super evil. And that's kind of the whole premise, that he's super overpowered and he's just like going around power fantasy style, just defeating everybody. And that's literally all there is to this. Like, it's just him fighting people and showing how cool and overpowered he is, while Tomochika just kind of drags, he doesn't like really drag her along. He doesn't want her around, but she kind of tags her along, I guess. But she's dragged on the adventures, I guess what I'm trying to say. And you see their characters, kind of learn about their abilities, learn more about this world. Although none of that matters, because what matters is that 𝐥𝐤𝐤 is just super, super overpowered. And there's like this ghost character that joins in, and it's super annoying. It's probably one of like the most annoying little mascot sidekick characters that I've seen in a while. I hated that little ghost character. And that's kind of it. And it's one that to this day, I don't know if it was supposed to be taken seriously, because it feels like one of those series where like the author just is like, ooh, look at my OC, they're so cool and they're so powerful and they can, you know, defeat everybody. Or if it's supposed to be like more well aware, you know, self-aware, and it know, you know, like the series knows that it's stupid and it's trying to like make a commentary of like all these like series where like the protagonist is super overpowered and they're super edgy. I really don't know what it is. I don't know if it's trying to like be a commentary on how ridiculous all these series are, that, you know, the main character can just do anything because they're like, ooh, so cool. I don't know if it's supposed to be that, or if you're just supposed to be like, ooh, look at this guy, he's so cool, he's so powerful, I want to be like him. Escapist fantasy, you know? To this day, I don't know if it's one or the other. It's super over the top, super dumb. Nothing really happens except the main character being super cool, you know? So yeah, this one ran for 12 episodes. You can watch it over on HIDIVE. Like I said, it feels like HIDIVE got all of the edgy, all of the really over-the-top pervy stuff, right? And yeah, over on my anime list, it has a 6.4 rating. And yeah, I would probably give it like a 6 out of 10, maybe even a 5 out of 10, because it's just so, like, exactly what I described. It's just so like, ooh, look at the main character, he's so powerful and he can do anything, and the characters don't really matter, and one of them's really annoying, and like main character's so edgy, and that's it, you know what I mean? So I don't know, I would give it like a 5, maybe even a 6 if I'm being generous, out of 10. I just thought it was very mediocre, and the only reason I'm not giving it anything lower, the reason I'm kind of in the middle, is because part of it feels so over the top that it's kind of funny, and it kind of feels like it's tongue-in-cheek, you know what I mean? But hey, maybe I'm just being generous, but there you go. Yeah. Alrighty, moving over into the territory of stuff that was better, but again, this one I have mixed feelings about. You guys will see why in a moment. It's called The Witch and the Beast. And basically, it is this universe, it is this world where there are these witches, right? It's these evil creatures that have magic and they can curse people. And there's like these rules about how to break a curse, right? I'm not gonna get too much into it. You can watch it for yourself. All you need to know, witches exist and they go around doing all sorts of evil stuff. And there is this organization called the Order of Magical Resonance that they kind of fight back against all of this evil magic stuff, right? Our two main characters are this duo that there is... Oh my god, their names are weird, right? The guy, his name is Ashaf, and he's this guy that's always chain smoking, and he carries around this huge coffin-looking thing, and he seems to be kind of like the handler of the other main character, whose name is 𝐦𝐤𝐤, and 𝐦𝐤𝐤 is this... I guess I'll just say it. I mean, it kind of is part of the premise. 𝐦𝐤𝐤 is actually... It's this girl, right? It's this blonde girl, super, you know, snarky, super bad-mannered, super hot-headed, that when 𝐦𝐤𝐤 unlocks the coffin, right, and kind of lets her loose, she transforms into this, like, huge, muscular, like, monster. And that's because that huge, crazy-looking monster, this guy, right, that's actually 𝐦𝐤𝐤's real appearance. But because they were cursed by a witch, that's why they take on this appearance of this, like, blonde, hot-headed girl. And basically 𝐦𝐤𝐤 joined this organization because they're trying to break the curse that this witch put on them. And by, you know, teaming up with Ashaf and traveling around and finding all these things, not only does 𝐦𝐤𝐤, you know, I guess they get something out of it, right? Working for the organization, I guess they get paid, basically, right? But also, as they're fighting the witches and stuff, they're hoping that they'll get information, they'll get a lead on where this witch that cursed them is at. And so that's kind of the premise. It's kind of like a monster of the week sort of thing, where they go around and they fight all these different, witches, and they're trying to solve all these different mysterious things happening in all these different towns, right? Solving all these different cases. The series has a pretty good premise. It's just the execution I thought was kind of weird. Like, I thought the powers and how they worked was kind of weird. The characters, I don't know. I just thought they weren't that interesting. They weren't that compelling. The cases themselves weren't really that great. Like, I thought the first one, the introductory one, was pretty cool, where there's this witch and, like, okay, she seems to be, a good guy, and she swears that she doesn't mean anybody any harm, and everybody in the town talks about how great she is, blah, blah, blah. And you have to wonder if there's something underneath the surface. Is she lying to everybody? Or, like, what's the deal? Blah, blah, blah. Because, yes, witches are supposed to be evil, but the Order of Magical Resonance also has people that have, like, this crazy, dark magic that they use. And some of it seems very borderline, what's the deal there? So, you know what I mean? So I thought the first case that they solve, right? I thought that was pretty interesting. But besides that, I just thought the execution was kind of weird. Like, the pacing and the characters, and I don't know. I just didn't think it was that great, honestly. Like, I was a bit disappointed. I expected a lot from it, and I wasn't that pleased with it at the end of the day. I kind of have some mixed feelings about it. Like, it feels like it has a lot of potential, but just, I don't know. It's just kind of weird, So that one ran for 12 episodes. You can watch it over on Crunchyroll. And if I had to give it a rating, I don't know, maybe like a 6.5. I feel very confident in giving it like a 6.5, maybe a 6.75. Sometimes I kind of give like a quarter of a rating, right? But yeah, I just don't know. Personally, I just didn't really enjoy it. Like, I just have mixed feelings about it. Like, I really expected a lot, thought it had a lot of potential, but at the end of the day, it wasn't something that I was like, oh man, I hope he gets like a second season. I really enjoyed it. Not really, sad to say. Over on my anime list, it has a 7.39. So people did seem to give it a bit of a higher score than what I gave it. If you look at some of the reviews, it seemed like people did enjoy a bit more than I did. But that's just some people. Some people did agree, and some people say the same thing that I did about having missed potential and stuff, But there you have it, Witch and the Beast. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's probably my one from this season that I was kind of disappointed because I expected a lot, and I just feel like it didn't really grab me the way I expected. So there you go. Alrighty, after that, the next one that I want to talk about is A Sign of Affection. This one is the one about how there is this university student. Her name is Yuki Itase, and she has been hard of hearing since birth. And so she's always had to wear, hearing aids. And they kind of help her here and there, but it's not too much of a difference it makes, right? So usually what she has to do is either try her best to read lips, which, as you're watching, it seems like she's learned, a bit of how to read lips, so she can kind of get by on that. Or she communicates through sign language, or, the good old-fashioned has people write, to her, and she writes on paper and, shows it to people to communicate, right? But the point is that she's been dealing with this her whole life. And she lives in this world where she has a best friend that, really helps her with, transcribing notes. And there's this guy she knows from her childhood that he knows sign language. And he's kind of overprotective of her. And, that plays a part in the story. And, she's always just really interested in trying to meet new people if she can. And one day she meets this student that he is someone that loves to travel, and he loves to engage with other cultures, and he loves to learn new languages, right? And his name is 𝐦𝐨𝐫𝐞, and he's a friend of her best friend, and she is like kind of smitten with him because he's a good looking guy, really talented, has a lot going on in his life, stuff like that. And right away, he seems to have an interest in her, because when he finds out all about her and her sign language and her, condition and stuff, he says that he's interested in learning sign languages because, for him, that's like learning another language, learning about a whole other culture. And the whole thing is about their, little relationship and the will they, won't they of, she's interested in him, but is he interested in her? And, what's going to happen as they grow closer, as they bond over, learning, sign language. And then there's all these other characters they introduced that are in their circle. Like I mentioned earlier, there's her best friend. And there's this guy that she's interested in that works with 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿, right? And then there's like this childhood friend that 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿 has that she's always had a crush on him. But then like a friend that's mutual of theirs, that he's like a hairdresser. It seems that he has a thing for her. And then of course there's the friend that I mentioned earlier of Yuki, that he's like really overprotective and he knows, sign language to interact with her. And like there's like a whole bunch of stuff, right? And so it's just this whole series of all these people and kind of how they overlap and these connections that they have and their interactions and stuff. And I thought it was fine. It wasn't the best thing in the world. It wasn't very deep. Definitely feel like it's one of those things where it's just like a will they, won't they? And you kind of wonder, it's better than some, right? There's been some worse ones in the connection between the two main leads, right? There's some where it feels like they don't have any connection at all. And it feels like it's kind of like a will they, won't they that doesn't feel deserved. This one, at least you kind of see how they bond. You kind of see the relationship and how it grows. And, it's a bit better at least. But I still wouldn't say it's the most compelling thing in the world. We'll say that. But, at least it kind of has some interesting aspects to it. Like the whole thing about the languages, the whole thing about our main character being hearing impaired. It's fine. Some people have said they think it's kind of cheesy because it feels very iffy, or sometimes it feels like she can just like read lips and sometimes she can't. And like the way she communicates, it feels like sometimes they use her condition just for the plot. Like it doesn't feel like they portray it that good. That's what I've heard from, some people. That's what I read. And I can kind of agree. There's some places where it feels kind of weird. But like I said, overall, it's fine. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It ran for 12 episodes. You can watch it over on Crunchyroll, as well as I think Netflix, right? And I don't know, if I had to give it a rating, solid 7 out of 10. It's not the best in the world, but it's not terrible. It's fine. Like I said, it's not the worst, romance thing I've seen. And at least some of the stuff is nice. Some of the interactions are kind of interesting. So there you go. It's fine, I recommend it. I do give it a thumbs up, but it is the caveat of, hey, not the best thing in the world. It's not going to blow you away or anything. And the portrayal of, the hearing impairment is kind of weird, but it's fine. So there you go. Alrighty, from here forward, we start to dive into the stuff that I really enjoyed, stuff that I really recommend. You guys will see what I mean in a moment. The first one I want to talk about is The Dangers in My Heart Season 2. Second season of this series. I think a lot of people have really fallen in love with. I think a lot of people are really excited to see more of it. And it's just really well done. And I've even been reading the manga, because I'm just curious about where the story goes. And it's one of those series that I think it's pretty interesting. I think the characters are, compelling, and their little arc, and I'll get to that in a moment. Basically, the whole point of it picks up where season 1 left off, where the whole point is our main characters are Kyotaro Ichikawa, which is our little, short king, emo-looking protagonist that during the first season, we find out that he's kind of edgy, and he's antisocial, and he doesn't really like to talk to anybody. He has all of these morbid interests in death and true crime and, all this stuff. And then there's this girl named Anna Yamada that she's like a model, and she seems like she's really bubbly and popular and like beautiful, and everybody likes her, blah, blah, blah. And the reason that they, meet is because one of those days where Kyotaro was hanging off in the library, he stumbled upon Anna, and she was eating because she is kind of a ditz and she loves to eat. And she was just, eating snacks in the library. And I don't know, as he kind of watches her, because at first he kind of hates her. He even says if it was up to him, like he would like to kill her, being super edgy and stuff. But as he kind of gets to know her and he watches her, he sees that there's more to her. And he sees that she's really a nice person, really bubbly, and that sort of thing. And basically we kind of see how they start to get a little interested in one another during the first season. The second season picks up after, winter break, and it's more about them just hanging out, how they bond, how they both kind of grow along the way, dealing with school and their personal life and one another, and their, romantic feelings that are growing for one another. And I don't really know what to say. It's just really well done. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's one of those things where it's kind of diabetes in, it'll give you the diabetes because of how sweet it is. But I just think it's really fun and really compelling. And I like the characters. And I really do like the relationship. I think that the way it progresses, it's neither too fast where it feels unearned and it feels like it's really the plot demands it, right? It doesn't feel like that. But it also doesn't feel too slow where you're like, oh my God, there's no progression. This is not going to get anywhere. It leaves off in a place at the end of the season where you want to see more, and you definitely feel like they've grown and you've seen some change over time. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just think it's really well done. I really enjoyed it. I would definitely give it an 8, maybe 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really hope that they keep adapting it. And I don't know. I think that's one of those that I really recommend. I would definitely give it a thumbs up. Ran for 13 episodes. It was over on High Dive. And again, I think that if you like those slice of life rom-coms, they're really sugary sweet, but also funny, and it has some more serious moments too. I think you'll like it. I think it's pretty well done. You know what I mean? It's not going to be for everybody. I get it, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. So there you go. Alrighty. After that, I want to talk about, this is a really weird one. It's called Sasaki and Peeps. And this one is a series that it's rated really low over on my anime list. And I'm not really sure why. I guess maybe a lot of people just didn't watch it. Or maybe some people felt that too much was going on at once. But I don't know. I think it's really interesting that it feels like if it was 2 or 3 different anime rolled into one. And for me, I just think that that's really interesting. Basically, our main character, his name is Sasaki. And he's this 39-year-old, corporate drone that he lives really modestly, goes to work every day, lives in a small apartment, doesn't really have a lot going on. He's kind of lonely. So one day he decides he's going to get himself a pet. So he goes to the pet shop and he sees that they're selling this little, it's called a Java Sparrow. And they're selling it for a really good price. And like I said, because he's lonely, he feels like he wants a little bit more in his life. He adopts it, takes it home, and he names it Peachon. Really weird, though, is that he knows that, some of these birds are supposed to be able to talk, but it's talking in a way that birds aren't really supposed to. And that's because Peachon is actually the reincarnation of this sage from a different world. And it says that if, Sasaki will, feed him right, I think it was, the whole thing, if I'm remembering, the whole, beginning, if Sasaki promises to feed him Kobe beef, that he will grant him some powers. Because, Peachon wants to eat well. And, Sasaki tells him something along the lines of well, I don't really make that much money. I can't really help you. But then they end up teaming up and Peachon takes him to his world and grants him powers. And it's this whole weird thing where it's over in his world, it's basically like medieval times, right? Like your typical fantasy setting. And he's like, yo, what if you grab stuff from your world, like binoculars and radios, walkie-talkies, stuff like that, and you bring it over to the other world and you make a business there as like a merchant. That way you'll make money and you can use that money to improve your lifestyle. And so like that's like a whole thing that they start setting up. And it's like really interesting to see, Sasaki's life in that other world and how he's selling stuff. He's a merchant and we see him kind of intervene in like the politics of that world and meet like the royalty and like all this stuff, right? However, the part where it becomes really weird is that he travels back and forth between the other world and, the real world. Back in the real world, there was this girl that was getting attacked. And so he steps in using his elemental powers to save her. And apparently, he's not alone in having powers, even though his powers come from a different source. There's actually this government agency that they actually fight criminals who have other powers, And so he gets roped into that. So he is no longer a corporate drone in the real world. He's actually a secret agent where he has to team up with the girl that he saved to fight all of these gifted, superpowered criminals. So he has to balance two lives. In the real world, he's part of a secret agency and he has to use his powers to fight other superpowered criminals. But then in the fantasy world, he's this merchant / advisor involved in all of the politics. And it's just, trust me, there's more. I'm not going to spoil it. But it's this back and forth where he's like jumping around from one world to the other. And sometimes there's things that are overlapping. And it's really crazy. And I think that might be why some people didn't like it. I think some people thought there was too much going on. Maybe they felt like, oh, they should have, focused on one thing or another. I'm not too sure. But I don't know. I just think it's really interesting that there's all these different things going on and there's all these different like worlds being introduced and powers and factions and all this stuff. And Sasaki is just dealing with all of it. And I just think it's really interesting. And I really want to see more of it. And I just think it's really cool if someone just basically decided, I'm going to mash up all these ideas together and just let them play out. So I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it's really interesting. I thought it was really cool. Like I said, over on my anime list, it's actually rated kind of low. It has a 6.84, and a lot of the reviews are very mixed, or like people don't recommend it. They just didn't like it for some reason. But I recommend it. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. I would give it easily like an 8 out of 10 and recommend it. I would say it's like a really interesting premise, and I really like that it has this like adult protagonist. And I really like that's not your typical isekai thing. I like how there's always like back and forth. And like I said, all these different powers and factions going on. So I recommend it. I think it's really good. I would say to watch it. It was 12 episodes and it is over on Crunchyroll. So yes, Sasaki and Peeps-chan. I'd say check it out if you can. Let me know what you think because I really liked it, but I know not everyone did, obviously. So Alrighty, after that, the next anime is one that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed it so much that I, watched both original version, Japanese that came out, as well as the English dub, which I do want to touch upon in a moment because I thought it was really interesting what they did for it. It is called Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable. And basically the premise of this one is that there's this kid, high school student, that he moves from the big city of Tokyo to a smaller little town in Hokkaido. And he is part of this, rich family. And he, moves to, he moves in with like his grandma, she has like this really nice home. And basically on his first day in town, he, basically ends up kind of, something you have to know is that throughout the whole thing, I'm not too sure. I didn't really look it up if Hokkaido's really like this. Like, I don't know if like year round it's full of snow or like a big part of the year, or if it's just during the winter they get a lot of snow. I'm not too sure like what the deal is there. But a big part of this series is that they're in a very snow-filled environment. And obviously, Tsubasa isn't used to this. He came from the big city. I don't think there was like that much snow around, right? And he moved to like a little town that it's very, small in nature, and it's full of snow everywhere. And so on his first day there, he kind of becomes, overwhelmed by the fact that like there's snow everywhere and I don't really know where I'm going. And he's like, oh man, like what's going to happen? I'm lost, blah, blah, blah. And as he's dealing with all that, he runs across this girl, a typical, 𝐥𝐤𝐤 means that she has, the beach blonde hair. And her name is Minami Fuyuki. And Minami is, your typical 𝐥𝐤𝐤. She's all about fashion. She has the bleach blonde hair, and she dresses, kind of, suggestively sometimes. Doesn't really care too much about, showing skin, that sort of thing. And he runs across her. And at first he's kind of, intimidated because he's like, oh no, this girl, and maybe she's trouble, blah, blah, blah. But she ends up being like really nice. And she ends up being really friendly. And she, strikes up a conversation with him and tries to point him in the right direction, blah, blah, blah. And, when he finally gets to home and gets to school the next day, he ends up finding out that she's in the same class as him. And she sits like right next to him. And so, of course, in typical anime fashion, they start to like bond and they start to talk and start to hang out and stuff. She basically becomes like his first friend in town. And it kind of becomes about how their, little friendship develops. And, she invites him to like this little winter festival and they have a lot of fun. And you kind of start to like wonder, oh, is there like a thing there? Do they kind of have feelings for one another? Stuff like that. And they become closer. What makes it interesting is that, and something that I had mentioned in a previous episode that kind of turned me off, is that if you look, one of the tags and one of the ways that it's kind of pushed the series, is that it's supposed to be kind of like a harem thing, supposedly, right? Because not only does he meet Minami, but there's also another girl named Sayuri, who's this like gamer, kind of, quiet, more aloof classmate. And he kind of bonds with her. And there's this girl that she's kind of more, traditional. She's like a history buff, dresses in kimonos, that sort of thing. And her name is Reina. And he kind of, starts getting close to her. And so it becomes this thing, right, where he's like bonding with all these girls and they all kind of are interested in him. He's kind of interested in them in a way, blah, blah, blah. And so I was watching it and I was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, at first I was kind of like, I don't know. Like, I really like his relationship with Minami. And I kind of like really ship him and Minami. And I'm hoping the story goes with them. What's interesting, though, is I guess I'll just say the story doesn't go exactly the way you think it's going to go. Now, even though they call it like a harem thing, it's not exactly a harem thing. I feel like it's a bit deeper than that. And I would say that the main focus is still on Tsubasa and Minami. So, I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, even though there's these other girls and they kind of hint at something there, I think they do show that at the end of the day, the main focus is Tsubasa and Minami. And I may have already said too much, but just want to throw it out there. For anyone's wondering, like, oh, is it a harem thing? Is it going to be kind of... It's not. But I think it's really interesting. I think it's really fun. I think the characters are, a lot of fun. I think his relationship with the different girls is pretty well done. Like I said, I even watched the English dub. The English dub is really fun because usually in anime, sometimes you'll hear that somebody has a bit of an accent, right? But for someone who's like an English speaker, that you might not really notice, right? Because you don't really know the inflection and the dialects and stuff, and because you don't really know Japanese, so you don't really notice. And the way they usually translate this in English is that if somebody has a bit of an accent, then usually people will be talking in their typical English sounding dialect, and then someone will have like a Southern accent, and that's how they kind of portray that somebody has a bit of a of an accent, right? That they have a little bit of a different dialect they're using. What I think is really fun is that for this anime, since they are in the snow and they're supposed to be like in a part of Japan, I think is up north, in the English dub, they have Minami as well as her mom. They speak in what sounds like a, what's it called? Kind of like a Canadian accent, kind of like I think it's like a Minnesota accent. That's how they portray that she has an accent in the English dub. And I just thought it was like a lot of fun. I thought it was really cute. And I thought that was like a really good way to portray that she's supposed to have a bit of a different dialect that she's using. I thought it was really cool. They gave her like a bit of a Canadian sounding accent with like the A and like all that stuff. And like I thought that was really well done. I thought it was really endearing. I thought it was really fun. And I thought it was like a really genius idea too, because, you know, get it? She's from like up north where there's snow. And so that's how they chose to do it. So I just really liked it. But yes, enough about that. Point is, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was 12 episodes. It was over on Crunchyroll. I think that even the English dub is worth watching. I just thought it was a lot of fun. And I have been trying to keep up with the manga. I think the manga is actually complete at this time. I actually forget. But yeah, I just thought it was a lot of fun. Really liked it. I think Minami is super adorable. I really like her. And like I said, even the English dub is really well done. So I would give it, again, like an 8, maybe even 8.5 out of 10. Really recommend it. Give it a thumbs up. I think it's worth a watch. And yeah, over on my anime list, it has a 7.03. I think maybe some people didn't totally like it. But at least if you look at most of the reviews, they seem to be like usually positive. So, you know. But I don't know. Personally, I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. So there you go. I say check it out. And hopefully anyone who watches it has a good time with it. Alrighty. And finally, the last anime that I want to talk about is one called Ninja Kamui. And yes, this one was a bit interesting. This is the one that I started watching. It started like near the tail end of the winter 2024 anime. That's kind of why this one as well. I kind of wanted to wait for it to be over, and that's why I had kind of been holding off on, you know, doing this podcast episode, because I'm like, well, I already mentioned Ninja Kamui, so maybe I should wait until it ends before I kind of, you know, talk about everything, right? So that's kind of why that kind of, you know, it was a whole thing, right? But the point is, this one is the one that the best way to describe it is Ninja John Wick, where there's this guy and he calls himself Joe Logan, and he lives in the countryside with his wife and son. And we can kind of see here and there that there is something to his past, right? Like the anime opens on these like ninjas that they find this guy, and the guy's surprised, and he's like, I didn't think you like find me. And they're like, oh, you just thought you could like walk away, basically. You thought you could like hide. You thought we wouldn't find you. Like, we always find our targets, and they kill them, right? And so you know that, like, okay, for some reason it's very cutthroat, where like they will find you and there's no escaping, right? And we know that Joe is somehow involved in that, because we get hints here and there that there's more to him. And we see that he's talking to his wife, and he's like, don't worry, we'll be safe, blah, 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 all this good stuff. However, you know, you can't escape fate. You can't escape when there's one of these factions finding you. And sure enough, one night, this evil organization of ninjas, they break into his house, they kill his wife and son, and they think that they killed Joe. They left him for dead. However, Joe wakes up in the hospital. He's not even sure how he survived. And as the detectives are kind of trying to question about him, Joe is just super dead inside, and he like doesn't respond. He doesn't say anything about who did it, even though he knows who did it. And basically, you know, this organization, they, you know, break into the hospital and they're trying to kill him, but he goes super hardcore mode on everybody, murders everybody, and basically sheds his secret identity And that's where we learn that, the whole reason that he seems like this like typical white guy named Joe, you're kind of wondering, it seems kind of weird, right? Like, this guy used to be a ninja. What's up with that? It's because he and his family were wearing like this cloaking device. Because yes, we're dealing with ninjas, but they have a lot of like technology as well. So it's kind of like a sci-fi ninja thing, right? It's like a mix of it. And that's why he thought that he was safe, because his whole time, his family was wearing these like cloaking devices that gave him a different appearance. And, as he's going to leave his old, I guess his new life behind, he like takes like the cloaking device off and we see what he really looks like. And he like, basically burns down his home in the countryside, and he basically sets off on a revenge journey. As I'm saying, that's what kind of reminds me of John Wick, because it's basically a guy that wanted to start a new life until the past caught up with him, destroyed everything he loves, and so now he is going to take his revenge, and he is going to take everybody down. And, without spoiling it, that's kind of what the whole thing is about. It's this revenge, bloody tale, and there's this guy, and it's all about him fighting this organization and trying to, take everybody down. And I liked it. I thought it was cool. I thought the animation and art style was really nice. I thought there was some pretty good fight scenes, that sort of thing. Story is pretty basic, but I liked it, enough. I think that, these John Wick kind of revenge tales are always pretty interesting. And I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting how this was over on Adult Swim. It was one of those Adult Swim productions, that you would watch on Adult Swim as it was coming out on, Toonami. And then afterwards, they put on Max, right? I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. I recommend it. I think that if you like action and what I've set up to now sounds really interesting, if you like John Wick types of stories where someone's like on a revenge quest, I think you'll like this. And yeah, like I said, I think it's pretty cool. I liked it. And I just think it's kind of cool how Toonami and, Adult Swim, they kind of keep making these series. I know some people kind of complain about them. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I just think it's really interesting what Toonami and, Adult Swim has done of trying to, really bring anime to the West and keep the anime industry alive by producing stuff and showing stuff on their late night block. I think it's pretty cool, and I just thought this was another one where I just thought it was pretty cool. So yeah, that is Ninja Kamui. Ran for 13 episodes. This one's kind of a weird one because, like I said, it came out like on Adult Swim / Toonami and then on Max. So I think you can still find it on Max. It's been a while since I really engaged with this. Let me just make sure real quick. I think I had heard they were going to take it off of Max. Let me see real quick. Yeah, see, like right now I'm looking it up. And it says watch now on Sling TV. So I think they might have taken it off of Max, which really sucks. No, it's still on Max. Never mind. Okay, I was going to say, it should be on Max. That's really weird. So you can watch it on Max if you have the service. If not, you can try to watch it on Sling TV. Don't even know who has that. But there you go. It is available in some places to watch. So it's kind of a weird one. But if you're able to watch it, and if it sounds interesting, I would say check it out. I'd probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10. Maybe even an 8 out of 10. Not like the most deep story, not the most engaging story. It's pretty simple, but I still think that the premise carries it. A lot of, the moves that you see, the ninjas and like the character designs and the fight scenes, I think they carry it. So I thought it was pretty cool. I would still recommend it. Over on my anime list, it has a 6.99. Again, kind of low. I feel like this season I am not really agreeing with a lot of these ratings. But there you go. If what I mentioned sounds interesting to you, check it out. There you go. All right, and that is it. That is my very, very, very late anime roundup of winter 2024. I thought that overall it was a pretty good season, a pretty interesting season. I thought there was some pretty good highs. I thought that even the ones that weren't that great were at least interesting in some way, right? So I think overall it was a pretty good anime season. I think that there was some shows that I definitely enjoyed, that sort of thing, some that I definitely recommend. And yeah, hopefully you guys will check out some of the stuff that I mentioned if you have not watched up to now. Again, it's really late, so maybe some of these have already been watched. But if I mentioned something that you haven't watched, hopefully I got your attention and you'll check some of these out. And of course, as always, these aren't even all of the anime for that season. There's other anime that I even covered, but there's supposed to be some other interesting ones, you know? But there you go. There you guys have it. This is the last episode of this old format. Hopefully the next time that you hear Legend of Jonathan and I, we'll be back with the new podcast. Like I said, Legend of Jonathan was working on some art. Maybe we'll integrate that. Maybe the first episode we'll do will be, you know, the anime roundup for spring 2024. I know that ends fairly soon, so maybe that'll be the first episode we cover. We'll have to see. But there you go, guys. Until next time. Hopefully you guys enjoy listening to this. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. This has been weebrabbit. Have a good one. Bye-bye.